I hit 13k subs recently, thank you all for that by the way, and I figured what better way to celebrate this milestone than by talking about the dirty, disgusting rat people we all know and love to hate. 13 is their sacred number after all, and 13 subs is a milestone long past, and 13 million seems a little bit optimistic. But I already covered them in a do or don't, and I don't just want to do a lore video. I mean, you can find plenty of those online already, that market is saturated to hell and back. So I did some thinking about the Skaven. I thought long and hard in the Skaven manner. How do Skaven live? What drives them to do what they do? That is to say, to be the absolute worst without any competition, because even demons can at least be honorable-ish. And then it struck me. The Skaven, of course, have two key facets to their personality as a race. They are assholes, and they want more of everything. Greyseers want more power and warpstone, their soldiers and generals want more disposable clan rats and warpstone, the slaves want more food, respect, and warpstone. All of them want to get these things in the most asshole way possible. Even their very god just wants more disposable rats in the mortal realms to be an asshole with. So it stands to reason for this little semi-special that I would talk about what I want more for the Skaven to be an asshole with. Because the world of Age of Sigmar can only be better off with more ways to be an asshole. Get used to hearing that word a lot in this video, and I think the Skaven as a faction could use some more of just about everything, really. I don't think they're in a bad spot by any means. They've got quite the variety of units and models, and I mean, you can't say anything with evil meth-powered machine guns is doing bad for itself. Plus, they made the transition from fantasy to AOS relatively unscathed. But they also haven't grown too much with the setting in a few ways. They've kind of stagnated. So here's my personal opinion on a few things that could be added to the Skaven unit roster and lore to bring them up to speed with everyone else. The first thing is easy. Update and bring back some old models that were removed. Why did the Poison Wind Mortar get removed? Bring it the fuck back. There's no reason for it, it just seems like GW woke up one day and went, the rats deserve less. Same for the Brood Whore, and that's just a big rat. Why don't they get to keep that? Are you telling me the Skaven have run out of giant rats? They're all giant rats. This is some weird choices to remove, I gotta say. I mean, the gas attack weapon gets removed, but the pointy drill doesn't? Some priorities really need to be put into check. Skaven Slaves 2 could be brought back, though unlike the first two, I kinda see why they're removed. Clanrats already fill the role of dirt cheap chaff. Skaven Slaves would not only be a bit redundant, but holy shit would make Skaven armies massive beyond belief. Which is fitting for lore, but when every Skaven player needs half an hour each turn to move his 1,000 rats, you'll probably understand why they're gone. Maybe an option to take a certain amount of Clanrats as slaves? I don't know. A few named characters or looser models could come back as well. Where's Tretch? Why isn't he in Age of Sigmar? Speaking of, they need some actual named characters with models. Currently it's Thanquol and that Spiteclaw guy, and that's it. You might argue that they still have their named characters like Ikitclaw or Queek, but they're just generic heroes now. They themselves are presumably long dead and gone, and they've been replaced with costumes, essentially. Thanquol is the only survivor, which is ironic, if hilarious and awesome. Though truth be told, this still isn't the biggest want I have for the Skaven. To me, as a faction, the Skaven have always excelled at being a faceless horde of evil bad guys to fight. Skaven characters are funny, and it's great to watch them do their thing, but as a faction in a wargame, I don't think they need special narrative characters as much as other factions. They're as much a natural disaster as they are a military power. That being said, it isn't a bad thing for them to have special characters by any means, it can only help. I'm just saying that in terms of things I want for my asshole rats, it's not the top priority. We're like the second pyramid from the top of the hierarchy of needs here. What I do think they're in desperate need of is some updated models. Clanrats are fine, but the Storm Vermin could use a bit of an upgrade. Maybe it's just me, but I think they're starting to look a little bit derpy. Even still though, for them it isn't the most necessary one on the list, because I look at the Rattling Gun and I sigh a sigh of sadness. Look at this thing. I know Skaven stuff is supposed to look like shit because they put it together for half the minimum cost of it working properly, but you shouldn't take that design philosophy at a meta level. Knight and Gutter Runners all look constipated, and at least a few of the models look like they're actively taking a shit while standing up on the battlefield, which granted is very Skaven, but also not very fun to look at. All of the weapon teams really could use a major overhaul, and of course most of them are either metal or resin because fuck you and fuck your dirty smelly rats. And the thing is, you can see little hints of what the Skaven could be. The Verminlord model, well, models technically, but come the fuck on, looks absolutely gorgeous in a hideous abomination sort of way. Spiteclaw's swarm shows that lower end Skaven can still look good, and for a model that is getting close to 7 or 8 years old, Thanquol looks absolutely stunning. He and Bone Ripper have aged like the finest of Italian wines. In fact, I'd say most of their big ticket items are aging pretty well. But those models aren't what you'll be using for the most part. It's the weapons teams and hordes of Storm Vermin and Plague Monks with their related characters you'll be using, and they really need a touch up. Games Workshop are finally updating the Eldar, and the Skaven are still at least decently popular popular between Total War and the Vermintide game, so we shouldn't give up hope, my fellow rat lovers. We'll get our time in the sun once more. While they're updating models, they should really throw in some new ones. In my humble opinion, they have a pretty solid roster already, so they aren't hurting at the moment, but the Skaven have always been incredibly dynamic and willing to invent. They may do this in the most haphazard, destructive, OSHA-defiant way possible, but they were never holding back their technology and war industries. So the fact they've gotten very few in the way of new models is definitely a shame to see. To my knowledge, they've only gotten a few within Age of Sigmar's lifespan. I'm pretty sure it's the new Clawlord, the Warlock Bombardier, the Spiteclaw Swarm, Endless Spell, and the Gnawholes. Which, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that's more than the cities of Sigmar have gotten. Rest in peace, Empire of Man, gone but never forgotten. But it's still not exactly a lot. And on top of that, most of the Endless Spell kit is just generic green glowy lightning. I mean, hell, one of the spells is just a bunch of rats. That's not a spell, that's a Kentucky Fried Chicken's grease trap. And the Gnawhole, while cool as hell, is just scenery. Theoretically, anyone could use that as scenery for their games. You just need to be playing Skaven for the full effects to kick in. For a race who embodies the military-industrial complex at its worst, they haven't done nearly enough inventing in the mortal realms. Give the rats new models, GW, come on. As for what those units should be, well, I think there's a variety of things you can go with. There's always room for more weapons teams. I want more ways to horrifically mangle both the enemy and myself. Don't limit me to what we have now, the sky's the limit. Bring back the Globadier and then invent new ones. Hell, just go take some existing ideas from other properties if you really want. Usually that's just being uncreative, but the Skaven already steal other races' stuff as a matter of principle, so it fits here. Give the Skaven the Skewer from Halo Infinite. Now that would be fun to play with. Maybe for some foot soldiers you can make upgraded storm vermin powered by warpstone augmentations. Give them bits of the stuff jamming out of the skin combined with powerful weapons designed to inflict maximum pain on everyone, including the one using it. What I'm trying to say is that all the Skaven weapons should also have the possibility of hurting themselves for extra damage, and there needs to be more of them, goddammit. But the units I'd love to see the most for the Skaven are new demon units. Remember how the Great Horned Rat replaced Slaanesh, and how the only thing that meaningfully came of it was Archaon spitting on the Horned Rat's face when it tried to bless him? He's one of the 4 major Chaos Gods now. Where are all the rat demons? Currently there's one type. It's an awesome demon and an awesome model, but that's literally it, just one. You can make the argument that the Skaven are sort of demons themselves, but come on, that's boring. Give me some actual rat demons beyond the greater one. Where are the horned rat equivalent of things like the Hounds of Khorne, cringe be his name, or Tzeentch's flying units? There's so much untapped potential there, it's like me after college. Alright, here we go. We're going strong so far, ladies and gentlemen. Seriously though, for all the potential for including Skaven demon units now that they're committed to chaos and nothing's been done with it. Screw the Eldar, I want more rats. I can never have enough rats. Now for something lore-related, I want the Skaven to be a part of something massive as part of their own initiative. They were integral to Nagash's Black Pyramid fuckery, don't get me wrong. He might have even succeeded if they didn't successfully blow the thing up before also succeeding in drowning their own capital city. I'm repeating words all the time in this video. But that was a reactionary measure. The Skaven did it because Nagash was about to pull off some major undead magic and they didn't want to be around for the fallout of it. The Skaven themselves, it seems, have done very little if any true conquering and scheming and planning of their own. The lore will tell you things like how they're searching for all the magic ingredients to make a super plague, but nothing has ever come of that or anything else they're supposedly doing. What springs to my mind the most is how an entire Skaven great clan tried to invade the forces of Orderboard Chaos showed up in force and the rats were slaughtered to a man. They haven't done shit. By contrast, the Skaven in Fantasy regularly got things done. They wiped out half the Empire with a massive plague and invasion once upon a time. Before Karl Franz got there, of course, then they would have never had a chance. They, alongside the Greenskins, are responsible for taking the second greatest hold of the dwarfs, Carrick Eightpeaks. They regularly ruin whatever the Lizardmen are doing for no better reason than they can, and they think it's funny to see the big toads get angry. Hell, they're a major part of Nagash's backstory from his rise to his fall. The only people the Skaven didn't regularly screw over were the Wood Elves because Anathel lore and even the dirt is alive, and the High Elves because Ulthuan was half island, half continent-sized boat, and it turns out it's really hard to dig a tunnel through open ocean. And when you take the end times into account, then holy shit, whoever was in charge of that bit of lore clearly had a favorite faction. Pretty much every human faction that didn't have an army got wiped by the Skaven. Estalia, Tilea, the Border Kingdoms, all absolutely obliterated. Literally eaten and shat out by rats. But don't think they just cleaned up factions GW doesn't care about like the Tyranids eating the Squats. They killed the Lizardmen off too, forced them to piss right off to space. And then just when you think they haven't done enough, they pull the moon towards the planet. Just yank the thing out of the sky and bring it closer. Why not? They can. This amazing feat of magic would probably have been one of the most amazing things of the end times had other Skaven not gotten jealous and proceeded to blow it up like the Death Star. Why did I just go through all this lore? Well, you see, all of it shows that in fantasy, the Skaven were movers and shakers. They weren't afraid to do something wild. But in Age of Sigmar, the Skaven really haven't done anything like that. They're just kinda there. Finally, and the last thing I want for the Skaven is related to that moon cannon. One crazy megalithic monstrosity or construction that truly show the power of Skaven engineering, the finest in the world. If any faction deserves a titan in Age of Sigmar, it's the Skaven. It should be falling apart and barely functional, and most of all incredibly deadly to anything within a 3-mile radius. If not that, then a Godzilla monster that's in horrific pain at all times. They could be the most unviable, unwieldy units to ever be released, but I want them so bad. So there's a few ideas for the Skaven to step up their game with. Let me know what you want to see for the rats in the comments. Thanks for watching and take care. Oh, and add the nukes from Total War too while we're at it. Give me mutually self-inflicted assured destruction. Also fuck Bretonia.